For being on time and early even. This morning we got Zach on guitar leading worship, and then Jonathan Going's going to share his testimony. And then we also have Sam who's going to preach today. So, yeah, you guys somebody want to open us up in a word of prayer, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'll do it.
Well, Heavenly Father, thank you that we can come and enjoy your beautiful presence out here today, God. It's so gorgeous. Lord, thank you for the fresh snow. Lord, thank you for no injuries today. Pray that you be with the guys at AB, Lord, keep them safe. Keep us safe on our travels today, Lord. Lord, pray that you just be with everybody on the mountain, keep them safe and keep them safe on their travels. Lord, I pray that you'll be able to speak through John and Sam, Lord. I pray that we would just be able to hear your word and learn more about you so we can love you more thoroughly.
So yeah, we just got a couple of songs today, guys. What? Yeah, that's right.
I've come we have come to give you praise. We have come to glory. We have come. Have come to give you praise. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Hearing your love, hearing your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Than hearing your love, hearing your love. Fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more. I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be.
Without seeing what his message was and trying to figure out how to tie my testimony in with that, I really felt like God kind of impressed upon me that I should just talk about kind of this last year and leading up to my time here in YWAM, pursuing a DTS. About a year ago, I was on a mission trip in Mexico, and just really dreaded going to it, and got there and was really kind of hating being there, and didn't really know why I was supposed to be there, but for some reason it had worked out for me to be able to go. And so, a few days in, I felt like God was kind of telling me, hey, I want you to look into this DTS stuff, because where we were staying at a YWAM base in Mazatlan, Mexico, and so I was getting to spend time with students that were on just a regular DTS there in January of 2014. And just as I got to spend time with them, they really, their fire for God was incredible, and something that I had been looking for a really long time. And I just, like I said, through the time, I felt like God kind of impressed upon me that I needed to pursue that myself. And so I looked into pursuing a DTS back down there in Mazatlan, and that just didn't work out for me. So I started looking for other places, and Denver was one of them, but it wasn't number one on my list. And for some reason, nothing else seemed to work out, but Denver did. And so as that worked out and I got here, God really started to just completely tear down some major walls in my heart, in my mind, and just completely wrecked me, and really changed my heart for people to a certain extent, and what it is that I guess injustices that I see, and not be quite be so calloused against them. But yeah, this has just been such an incredible time, and I just feel like God is continuing to ask me to continue to bow down before Him and ask Him what it is that He has for me, as opposed to tell Him what I'm going to do.
I'll read the non-bolded, and you guys read the bolded. So the one who has the bride is the bridegroom. Therefore, this joy of mine is now complete.
You must increase, but I must decrease.
And this verse, this passage of scripture, it's like John exalting Christ. So this is just an analogy, because they ask why are you doing these things? Because he was doing he was baptizing people, all this stuff, and so John answered and gave this analogy about the bridegroom and the bride, and oftentimes the church is referred to as the bride, that meaning Jesus would be the bridegroom. And so what John's referring to is that when he hears the bridegroom's voice, he rejoices, because it's his joy to fill out whatever the bridegroom is talking about. What I really want to focus on is the part where it's he must increase, but I must decrease. Because basically, I'll just give you a short part of my testimony. I always grew up in a Christian home, and most of you guys know this. This is the ones that don't. But I grew up in a Christian home, so church was always a thing. You basically did whatever you could to serve in the church, whether that was youth ministry, preschool, toddler stuff. And so it was always serve, and then later on, once I started going to high school, I kind of fell into a really selfish mindset, that it was what I could get out of anything, out of relationships, out of friendships. It was about me. So later on, I got into a relationship that was just kind of crummy, and it was just kind of crummy, and it got to a point where anything out of the relationship, it was just what I wanted. So for a long time that went on, and it in turn got me removed from my youth group. I was helping out. I was a student leader. So I got really bitter towards the church, and just kind of was I don't want this whole religious crap, basically. And so just really selfish. And then I was just I'm gonna do whatever makes me happy. So this verse that he must increase and I must, he must increase and I must decrease.
was just like eye-opening to me, because it's like I needed to come to the end of myself and realize that God had way bigger plans for me. So it was hard, and I finally got here. Everything worked out. I started working. I got to YWAM, and God's just been changing my life. And there's this verse in Proverbs. It's Proverbs 3:5-6, and it's lean not on your own understanding, or trust the Lord and lean not on your own understanding, but acknowledge Him in all of your ways, and He'll direct your paths. And that verse stood out to me because it's not like, oh, like in some areas acknowledge God, like, oh, like I'm going to go do this, so I'm going to pray real quick, and then God will be there with me. But it was in all of my ways, like I needed to like acknowledge Him, like whether I was on the slopes like riding, or if I was like eating breakfast next to one of my buddies. And so like it's really crazy, because like once you come to the end of yourself and you realize like I don't have it figured out, and that like things happen and you get stressed, and once you figure that out, that like if you lean on God, it's like when you're at your weakest, God is always at His strongest, and like you don't have to worry like whether or not He's gonna like pull through for you, because like He's always got your best in mind. And so yeah, it's just like pretty eye-opening for me, and like we've been learning this past week at our classes, doing this discipleship training school, that we've been talking, and God can only do what you let Him do, and what you make room for Him to do. So it's like when you open up, when you say like, here I am, like I don't have much to offer, but this is me, God does huge things. And like just like a testimony already, like being here, like before we got here, I was able to share on the lift like just my passion, like basically what I'm telling you guys, but it was just some girl that didn't even really like know much about the Bible, but she was just like, oh, like what are you guys gonna talk on? And I was able to tell her, and like being able to pray for people, like all of us, like man, like God's changing our life. And it's just crazy when we come to the end of ourselves, like God used us in ways that we couldn't even imagine. It was like we wouldn't even thought that God would be using us like on the slopes, like doing something we already love. So yeah, if anything, it's just like come to the end of yourself, and like God does huge things when you're willing to be humble and just like go out and be like crazy for Him and passionate for Him. Yeah.
I have a nonprofit organization called Youth with a Mission. It's a 501c3 organization. We run schools for students. Most of these guys are students getting ready to go overseas for 2 months, doing different stuff, working with social injustice initiatives, stuff like that. But also spreading the love of Jesus. Like that's what we're really all about. And so it's really rad. Like they've committed 5 months of their life, like 2 months of like crazy students, teachers are coming from all around the world, like all over, teaching about different
All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Jesus loves to snowboard.
We like to ride. Thanks for stopping by. You guys have fun.